Welcome and thank you for joining us today. In this session, we're going to look at how you use Azure services in conjunction with Office 365 to speed up the deployment of machines and reduce your dependency on traditional server infrastructure. We'll be looking at the tools we have available to us, the features they provide, and I'll be using the approach we take with our customers throughout the presentation. So to start, I want to give an example of where most of our customers are when they come to us today. We generally have PCs that are attached to a traditional Active Directory and dependent on connection to servers for logon, settings, and software deployment. The Azure Active Directory is typically synchronized with the Active Directory to provide a seamless logon experience for Office 365 and potentially other services in Azure. Devices such as phones, tablets, and sometimes BYOD laptops enroll with Intune for management and then authenticate directly to the cloud services they need to access. Fundamentally, our goal here is a simple one. We want to eliminate our dependency on Active Directory for both deployment and management of our devices. In the short term, we save on effort by no longer having to bring devices to the IT team before sending them to our users. And in the longer term, we eliminate the need to upgrade and replace on-premise servers. So how do we go about this? First thing to say is, we're not going to remove the traditional on-premise setup overnight, and I'll come back to how we migrate existing machines as we go through the presentation. Let's focus on the features of the Microsoft Intune service. Autopilot is the key to rapid deployment of Windows. For those of you familiar with Apple DEP or Android Enterprise, this is the Windows equivalent. Essentially, it dictates the startup process of a fresh Windows install. Configuration profiles take care of what group policy was doing for us in the on-premise model, and application packages provide the method to deploy software over the internet. So what you have here in Intune is a single management tool that configures all your devices out of the box based on the Active Directory user that signs in. Now, let me step you through the basics of the user experience when we bring Windows machines into Intune under Autopilot control. The end user receives a Windows machine direct from the supplier that is attached to Autopilot. They power it on, join the Wi-Fi, and log in with their company credentials before Windows does its usual startup process. At this point, the applications and settings you define in Intune and assign to the user are adopted by the machine. This replaces things like Configuration Manager and Group Policy that would configure the machine if it was in the building on the company network. If you're in a situation where someone manually configures each new machine, then this completely replaces that activity. When the setup of the machine is complete, it presents the usual logon screen and the user simply signs in with their company credentials as if they were on the internal network. Now we need to consider how they're going to access and store files and settings. As we have machines that have never attached to the company network, they won't have drives connected to file servers over VPN connections. So how are we going to deal with this? The answer here is quite simple. We use OneDrive to capture the usual locations like desktop, documents, and other common Windows folders. Settings for Windows are captured automatically by Azure Active Directory, and the traditional network drives are replaced by SharePoint libraries issued to File Explorer. The best part of this is that all of these things are handled by Intune configuration profiles, so no user input is required. Now, We'll look in a bit more detail at some of the features that make this possible. The first one being autopilot. This is not a new service. It's been around for a while, and as explained, it takes a Windows PC out of the box and scripts the configuration without IT having to touch it. In a scenario where we want to pre-install applications, we have a white glove option. This allows your distributor or MSP to stage the app installs before the user receives the machine and signs in. This is very useful in a situation where you have limited bandwidth on the user's locations, or you have a large number of apps that you want to get onto the PCs. An important feature that we've gained is the ability to adopt machines already on an Active Directory domain. Azure AD Sync onboards the device and group policy enrolls it with Intune as a hybrid. From there, when you're ready, you can simply issue the factory reset command from Intune and the machine rebuilds before waiting for the user to sign in. And at this point, the machine is then no longer dependent on the Active Directory domain on your company networks. Another area of significant enhancement can be found in the configuration capabilities of Intune. For some time now, Intune was missing a lot of the group policy controls we needed to do away with Active Directory. Windows 10 administrative templates are rapidly expanding the capability of Intune, not to mention enhancements in Intune's own configuration profiles. Remote script execution is another key one. The capability has not only been improved for Windows, but we now have it for Mac OS as well. Combine this with Jamf integration and we have a full-featured management solution for your Mac OS devices, as well as Windows, iOS and Android. The last piece I want to highlight here is the enhancement to software package deployment. Previously, we were limited to the various store apps or MSI packages. We now have the ability to capture any installer package and issue it to the machines. This was really the last piece in the puzzle that enabled us to do a full deployment remotely over the internet. And these are just a taster of some of the enhancements going on in Intune. If you'd like more detail on exactly how this could work for you, I have my contact details at the end of the video, so please get in touch. So let's recap through the steps required to use this service. You need the right licenses from an EM&S or a Microsoft 365 bundle. You need at least one autopilot profile to be configured. AD Connect needs to be configured to sync any existing devices that you want to onboard. You'll need configuration profiles in Intune that are equivalent to what you have in Active Directory group policy. You also need to get all your apps added to Intune and assign them to the users. So when they join the Intune process, they have the apps available to go onto the PC that they need. Outside of the deployment process, you must make sure your users can access the data they need. In our scenario, we used OneDrive and SharePoint as part of Office 365, but you can use any application as long as it does not require direct connection to the Office PCs, because these users are going to be only connected to the internet. And then finally, you either use the hybrid approach to migrate existing machines, or you acquire machines from your supplier and have them already added to your Azure AD tenant and the autopilot service. So I hope this has been informative. If you'd like to get in touch with questions or want to explore how Microsoft 365 services can help your business, my contact information is on screen. Please follow up using the LinkedIn or Twitter links to find out how to join our tech community, where we regularly post insights and tips on working with Microsoft 365 technologies. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to our next session.